Curse of Strahd, episode 14. Oh my gosh. Things keep getting crazier and crazier. Here's the rundown. I always start these things off with what I thought was going to happen and then what actually happened and some behind the scenes nuggets along the way of this last session. This last session they left off as they just got the bones of St. Andros from the church. Well, from this, from the coffin shop that they had to do. The bones were getting moved from a different location to another location. They're on to us. They're moving the bones. The bones get intercepted. Felix, the rogue, grabs the bones and darts off to the church. As the rest of the group is there, kind of licking their wounds from all of the vampire fight that they just had. As Isaac, the captain of the guards, comes over and says, "Arrest Irina." And that's where we left off, right? So at the top of the session, I was like, you know what, guys? All those guards, there's not a lot of guards. There's actually only like 4 or 5 guards. There's not a lot. You'd think there'd be more. There should be more, especially with all this commotion that's been going on. And I go over to so I'm going back and forth, like I've talked about before, back and forth between each pocket of the group, between Felix and the rest of the group. Felix and the rest of the group. And then I described to Felix, I was like, on your way to the church, you see the church off in the distance. And then you see Vasily von Holtz and an army of guards behind him. He's got like 10, 12 guards behind him. And he's like, there he is. He stole the bones. Arrest that man. And Vasily von Holtz, a.k.a. the secret identity of Strahd, is right there in front of everyone. Now, again, as he's in his secret identity, he looks like Vasily right now. Nobody knows he's Strahd. And the players don't know he's Strahd. And he's pointing at him to arrest this man. And the guards are going to go arrest him. And then some crazy stuff went down. So, long story short, I'm going to tell you each pocket of the story. Because the big, crazy, most part of this session was the back and forth between all these seasons. But for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to explain it to you guys in a live individual pockets instead of the back and forth that I did at the table. Live during the session, I went back and forth each round, right? So here's what it looks like. This is the next session document. This is a document that I have available over on my Patreon. All the live plays of all these sessions are available over on my Patreon as well to support this whole venture of all the different play tests and sessions and DM binders and all this kind of stuff that I put into this as resources for you guys. So this is the next session binder. So I wanted to double check on who had inspiration or not. What was everybody's max HP? I wanted to kind of check in to see kind of what those were. So those are my little notes to do that. These are other notes for myself to like the dinner invitation, which I weaved into this session as well. But anyway, I had the group in Irina, and each of the yellows were the different scenes. I wanted to run a yellow scene from the Irina group and a yellow scene from the Felix. And I'm just going back and forth down the list. So number 1 here, boom, did that. Number 1, Vasily here, boom, did that. Went back to 2, then 2, then 3, then 3, 4, 4, etc. You get the idea. So I had all this planned out. Up to the spot where I thought Felix was going to have this altercation and try and book it to the church and like tackle Vasily or trying to do something like that or try and get through him or get around him or sprint around him or something like that, right? Throw the bones of the church. I don't know, right? That's not what he did. And then I thought the group was going to have some sort of convincing or persuading or talking down the guards. That's not what happened. So here is what happened. The group with Irina. Pug decided to leave the group and go help Felix. And I was like, oh, okay, wow, interesting. Pug takes off, right? Goes towards Felix. Pug, we'll get to Pug in a second. That was a whole crazy thing that went on with Pug. But it ties into Felix. So anyway, long story short on this group is Isaac. I role-played the crap out of Isaac of being a soulless person that just wanted to kill Lars. He hated Lars because Strahd is embodying Lars. Strahd has a pact that Lars has accepted. The essence of Strahd is in Lars, and Isaac wants to kill it. Isaac, in my definition of my Curse of Strahd rule homebrew, Isaac is Sergei. Isaac is Sergei. He is the reincarnation of Sergei. Sergei's soul is trapped in the Sunblade and gone. Isaac is the body, just in the same way that Irina is the reincarnated version of Tatiana. Isaac is the reincarnated version of Sergei. So he sees Strahd, he wants to get revenge, etc., and he's just trying to kill Lars while trying to protect Irina. All this stuff. It's very weird. I'm role playing it very weird back and forth of this like torn, strange man. And it worked because they did not kill him at the very end. Even the barbarian, Lou, who's killed everyone she's came across, she did not kill him, which was very interesting to see that restraint there. And I gave her props, gave her some inspiration, proud of the restraint there. But this was a scuffle, and Lars got really close to death because this massive barbarian type character is just smashing at Lars constantly. He's being healed, and he's still making death. He's still, and I run death saves a little bit scarier. So there was definitely some, tense moments of this battle of trying to save Lars, right? But they're able to get through. Lou, the barbarian, is able to smash down Isaac enough to be able to stop him, and then restrain him. That group, success, done, right? And then the rest of the guards were intimidated and left and ran away, all this stuff. So, which actually leaves me a note to remind myself is the one loose end here, the one loose end is the Burgomaster pissed that they fought their guards and is worried about Isaac. Done. That's going to be a big thing. Big thing. So for next session, I'm going to make sure at the top of the session, the Burgomaster make, where's Isaac? Give me Isaac, right? And that's going to be a very, very big, important thing. He's going to get Isaac back, right? So that will happen at the top of the next session. Now, Felix. Oh man. This whole session was wild because I'm going to try and give it to you a real quick play-by-play and then give you the nitty-gritty. Felix sees the guards, turns around, leaves, goes to leave and run away. There would be a little moment here where I rolled for initiative between the two of them. If he beats Vasily, he's going to be able to get away without Vasily casting a spell on him. If Vasily wins, Vasily's in range to cast a spell on him. And he's like, oh no, and he wins, gets out of there. He says, I'm bolting straight to the Blue Water Inn. He's going to the Blue Water Inn to talk to the Raven people, right? So then he's bolting there. Every turn, here's how I ran it off. I had a round of combat happen, and then I checked in on Felix. What are you doing, Felix? And then I went back to a round of combat. What are you doing, Felix? And we just kept going back and forth. So as far as time goes, yes, time was not accurate between the two groups, but for engagement at the table, it's what needed to happen. So technically, the group that was in combat with Isaac in the streets, every round of combat was a much shorter period of time than Felix running through the city, right? But I ran them off around the same time, and it ended up working out just fine, even in the retcon big picture of the looking at it. It's fine, right? They were all fine. They're kind of like, okay, we had the scuffle. Where is everybody? And then they eventually came back together. So nothing ended up happening, but the engagement at the table was all the way up here because I was able to keep doing, including everybody, each and every round of what's going on, right? So I do a round of combat. Felix, what are you doing? He'd make a speed check. He'd make a survival check to be able to navigate through the streets. And then he made a hobo check, which is his special secret spy network of hobos, which that's a whole nother story. But a speed check also, by the way, is either either strength or acrobatics plus your proficiency is your speed check, right? Just hauling ass, right? How fast can you go? And then maybe some constitution saving throws for exhaustion type stuff if you keep doing it. So anyway, the Felix gets to the Blue Water Inn, talks to the were-ravens. They reveal that they are were-ravens in the middle of this heated situation. They reveal that they're were-ravens, and they're like, all right, fine, let's go. And then they help, and then the whole plan is, Felix, the church is here. Felix sees Vasily as he's walking towards the church, stops, turns around, runs to the Blue Water Inn. It's back here. And now he's at the Blue Water Inn, and he has to get to the church, but they're kind of looking for him. So he has the ravens do this distraction. He runs through. He's able to break through and get past the guards because they're all spread out looking for him, and he's bolted into the church. Now, really quick, I have to talk about this. Pug. The paladin Pug wanted to chase after it and try and help, but then ran into Vasily in the middle of the street. Vasily is obviously evil at this point. No, Pug knows he's evil. He knows Pug knows it. Everyone knows. So he taps into Pug's mind to sense. Pug had used divine sense to know where the bones were, and he tapped into Pug's mind, read Pug's mind, knew that, and directed the guards that way. So Pug screwed that up. And then in the altercation in the physical fight, he cast another spell on Pug, and then mind controlled Pug to cast Divine Sense again, and that's whenever Felix went that way with the bones, and he's like, and then I threw mind controlled Pug to use Divine Sense and tell me where he's going, and Pug pointed that way, and Strahd, aka Vasily, turned and bolted after Felix, and that was the big final moment. All the dust had settled. The last pieces were Felix, and Felix was running to it, and then he comes up the back right there. He gets all the way up to the steps. I have him make a charisma saving throw. He fails the charisma saving throw, but the Raven that he's been following, his best friend Raven, Were Raven, swoops through, grabs the bag out of his hands as Strahd's mind controlling. He's mind controlling Felix to bring the bones back and not put the bones into the church. And if it had been just Felix by himself, Felix would have stopped, turned around, and walked towards Strahd. But his friend, he brought a friend with him. He brought his Raven friend with him, and he snatches the bones out of his hand and is able to get the bones back to the church. And there's this awesome standoff between Vasily, who's a distance away from the church, and Felix, who's standing at the steps of the church, just squaring off against each other, staring at like a wild west standoff down the street. And there was some smack talk, all this stuff back and forth. It was so cool. And then Felix went for a move. Felix threw a dagger at him and had this Joker card and all these other backstory stuff. And he was role-playing really well and saying all this stuff to really trigger Vasily. And in this moment where he got hit by an attack, I was like, you know what? After all this, I think this deserves a fate roll. And a fate roll for me is, as a dungeon master, high, something crazy happens, low, either nothing happens or something bad happens, who knows. So in this case, I rolled a fate roll. And if it was high, like high on the dice, like D20, like 10 and above or 11 and above, depending on whatever. High, I was going to reveal that Vasily is Strahd. Low, he was going to keep his cool and leave, right? So I rolled an 18 or whatever, and that was high, so here we go. And then as soon as the dagger comes in, I start talking, and then I reveal to myself that I am Strahd. And then they're like, oh, shoot, Vasily is Strahd? Damn. Big reveal there. That was really cool. The moment at the table. And Vasily is Strahd. And then Vasily does this big spell. And then the Pug just comes up at this moment to try and stop him. Has a counter spell duel situation. Fails it. The magic goes off. Kills a couple of people. Knocks out Pug unconscious. Strahd picks Pug up. And there's a standoff again between Felix and now the fully revealed Strahd holding Pug. And then I rolled a roll for Strahd out in the middle of the group to see what he was going to do with Pug. Rolled a natural 20, which is good for the players. And then Strahd wakes up Pug, says he's proud of him. He's also says he's proud of Felix. And they have always had this bashing heads relationship. He's like, I'm proud of you. I'm impressed with what you're capable of. And Felix was taken aback by that. Like, wait, you should hate me right now. So it was a little weird. But what they don't know is Strahd respects the hell out of hustle and grit and determination and succeeding and being outdone in this way. He's impressed. He's super impressed. Now, Strahd's at a massive disadvantage because these are the bones of St. Andros, which is their blessing of the sun god is on these things. Whoa. This is a very much whoa. No, Strahd cannot touch those, right? So Strahd had to keep his distance, or else he'd just go take him. You know what I'm saying? Because he wants to. But this is the one thing in Barovia that he can't really get his hands on like that. So it was really cool to see that standoff, and that was awesome. And then in the aftermath of everything, there's some other things that kind of went down, but that was the coolest thing was the standoff, and they got the bones back. So now it's going to be the aftermath of what goes on now with the Burgomaster being alerted of all the stuff going on. They save the city and they save the bones and all these really great things. But then how's the Burgomaster going to respond to this? What's the status that they're going to be like in the city? What do they do next in Vallaki? Where do they go next? Who knows? But I also extended an invitation to Strahd's castle, and we'll see if they take him up on that. So stay creative. Think outside the box. See y'all next week.